I'm Brenda.
And I'm Christy. We're two friends from high school who are connecting and reconnecting over music and memories.
Welcome to Normal Bias Podcast.
We're glad you're here.
Okay, here we go. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Normal Bias Podcast. It's Brenda and Christy and our awesome guest, Lorie, who I'm meeting for the first time, but we feel like we know each other because we've been trading, I guess, comments and stuff on Instagram, or I read your comments. Hi, Lorie. And you are in Brenham also?
I am a Brenhamite as of 2 years ago.
Awesome. Where did you transfer from?
Life took me a big circle. It was one of those things. I grew up in this general area, had a 30-year circle kind of through the United States, the last few years out in West Texas, and then plopped down in the land of happy cows.
I love it. You know what? I love a full circle moment. I talk about that all the time. I just do. I love that. So yay, so welcome to Normal Bias Podcast.
So glad.
Thanks for having me.
So Lorie, Brenda asked me, I think she texted me yesterday, she said, hey, how did you meet Lorie? And I was like, well, I can't remember if it was you or your partner at the magazine who came to one of the gatherings and we had a small group together. It would have been right after you moved here. Would have been the fall. We did it at the Haven one evening, and it was one of the first gatherings I got to go to, maybe the second. But we broke up into small groups, and we had like questions that we asked each other. But I can't remember if it was you or your partner, your work partner.
I think it was Katie, but I think we met that night. I mean, that we weren't
met you.
Yeah, that we weren't necessarily in the same small group, but that may have been the first time that our paths crossed.
Yeah, so that would be a while ago now. So Lorie and we work out of the same gym, which when you're in a small town, so like we actually see each other at the gym and would just run into each other. And she's one of those people that when I met her, Lorie, your personality is just magnetic. Like you are a storyteller. I would call you a wordsmith, but you have a better title for yourself. And I love it. But Lorie's one of those people I've been wanting to get to know. And Lorie, you've been such a good friend and such a kind cheerleader to me and James. And Lorie has been doing her best to send work our way. She hired me for a project and she just hooked James up with a great contract. We'll contract jobs. But anyway, Lorie, you have been such a good friend to us. And I'm so blessed that just in this last few months, we've finally gotten to sit down at a table together and visit. So, and here we are.
I'm so excited.
Are you going to tell us? Oh, so I'm sorry. I am like, my timing is so off tonight, y'all. I'm just like, maybe I should not work like a normal person and then sit down to record. What were you going to say, friend? I'm sorry. I cut you off.
Me?
I don't know.
I cut
Lorie off.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Lorie.
I was just going to say I've been looking forward to it because there's nothing that I enjoy anymore than connecting with other women. And you two people are just these huge, bubbling, creative spirits. And so that's where I get my jazz juice. And so I was just excited by the possibility of connecting with you guys.
Well, yay. Well, me too. I love talking to people and I love hearing people's story. And like, as soon as I sat down, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that behind you? The color and like, your jewelry, I'm like, okay, I love this. I just want to know everything. Tell me.
She's really that.
Yes.
Lorie, so what would you want us to know about you? I mean, I know that's like a super broad question. We can jump into talking, or what are your highlight reels? What's your highlight reel?
Yeah.
My highlight reel would be that I grew up in a very small town, and the roots and experiences I had there at the time that I was getting ready to leave the nest, I thought that I probably was not prepared for the real world because I thought, man, this world has been too small. And what I learned was that all of those basic foundational things, the things you learn about, oh, I don't know, hard work and family and honesty and being responsible to other people are really the things that make your life. You know, wherever you plant yourself, those are the things that you take with you that make more difference than a skill set that I might have gone and had an honor Shakespeare class somewhere, you know, or I don't know, gone to a 6A school and been the lead violist.
I
You
love
know,
you,
so
Lori.
it's just been an interesting journey to figure out that where you came from may be the things that give you your very best parts.
That is so poetic and it's just so lovely. I just want to cry.
Lorie opens her mouth and it's like wisdom, but not just wisdom. Like, Lorie, you're a little sassy. You're a lot smart, but I love the way you just have such a way with words. Like I'm just like, okay. And
Okay, because here's what I heard there is like, I am a plethora of useless knowledge. I'd like to call myself very nice and kind. And you're telling me that that is more important than math. And I don't know math. So I don't need that.
Let me just tell you, everything is important, more important than math. Other than maybe the basic skill of counting change. That's
Right.
important, or at least it used to be.
Yes. But truly what you just said also about where you're from and the foundation, like that's just Christy and I. We grew up in this place where these people that, you know, we grew up with, you know, they're still here and we still support each other. We're still those same people. I mean, no, we've lived life. We've got new things going on, but at the core, we are still those girls from North Shore, the East Side. And yeah, I love what you just said about all of that is so true. And I try to tell my kids that, especially right now, what is happening in our world. It's love and hope and faith and the people, your family, everyone that's in your life that is holding you up right now. That is important. And my son's a senior, so you know those senior last year high school traditions that we hold so dear. I'm trying, even myself, to say, you know what, there's other things that really matter, and at the end of the day, when it's over, did you know those things. And I think he's getting it because you know he's mentioned it's the people that he misses and he wants to spend time with because he knows this is the last year. So we'll see but yeah. Go ahead.
And I know, Christy, you've got a senior as well?
yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Big day.
It is a beautiful year that you guys have coming up. My first one, when she was getting ready to graduate, had a senior year interrupted. Not globally like your guys have had it, but she had a health issue that turned her senior year upside down on its head. And it was nothing like any of us had envisioned. And at the time, I thought it was the most awful thing that could have happened. And she did too, because that was her pinnacle. You know, that's what you work toward being 18. But she navigated that year, and the lessons she learned from it not being normal, from it not being everything that she expected, have served her so well in her first 5 years of real life. that next step of life, that I don't want it to be disrupted for families, but I have seen the beauty of what can come out of the abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a resiliency that comes from it not being the way you expected it to be, I guess.
Well, and you were just telling us about your daughter has had some kind of, she was waiting on something and then it wasn't going to happen and then it was going to happen and now it's going to happen super fast. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, I had forgotten about her talking with you about her senior year. But I was just thinking about it. I was like, she rolled with the punches again. And this time it sounds like she just popped right back up and was like whatever happens, she's good. Am I taking too much out of our conversations, or has she really just been like, all right, let's do what we got to do this last few months?
She has been like that, I guess, since she left our house, because she was a first semester freshman when we all kind of got broadsided with news of a divorce. So she coped with that, being in a strange place and away. And then there were just several things that happened during her college career that tested her resiliency. She got to the end of her college career and she looked at me, and she'd always said, nursing school, nursing school, nursing school. And she got to the December of her senior year and she goes, Mom, I may need a master's of public health instead. This is intriguing. I just finished these courses. And she goes, I'm going to do this internship and then I'll decide. Well, the internship she did not like, but she got to the end of her senior year and had not applied for nursing school. So she's just spent a year at Advise Texas helping first-generation college students navigate the college application process, and delayed her year of nursing school. And the pandemic hit, and so she was working in public education in her first job in an apartment far away, locked down in a pandemic. And she called me one day from her car and she said, Mom, I'm okay, but there's a natural gas leak and they've evacuated my apartment and there's a fireball coming down the street. But the good news is we have renter's insurance. So that's what I mean.
I didn't know that's.
So I'm like, she's good,
Wow.
Is stuff okay?
Oh yeah, it turned out okay. They evacuated. It took them 12 hours to put out the fire. It was 1 block from the apartment complex, but she went to her boyfriend's parents' house, out of harm's way.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That's a phone call. Okay.
Well, yeah, but she was just so calm. The good news is, Mom, we have renter's insurance.
Good for her. That's awesome. So do you mind if I go back a little bit? I heard you say blindsided by a divorce.
Sure.
And those are words that I have said out of my own mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So is it your divorce?
Yes. Yeah. It was one of those things that the only person, I think, who saw it coming was my husband and perhaps his girlfriend at the time.
Oh my gosh, Lorie.
They seem to have a plan.
Yeah. Girl, you see, this is the stuff, y'all, who is listening out there. I've never met Lorie. Christy, talk about connection and people in your path. Like, I never expected you to say blindsided by divorce. And what you just said about he was the only one that knew, that is exactly what happened to me. He had thought about it and decided, made the decision. And I was hearing it for the first time. And by the time I heard the words, he had long moved on. And there I was, just, okay, what? So, wow. I thank you for sharing.
one of the things that I want to make the connection, one of the things that Lorie and I have been talking about recently, Lorie has raised two healthy, happy adult children who she likes very much and loves very much. And I think that for me, like to see what Lorie's, I don't know much of your personal story, Lorie, but that you walked through that and your kids are good and you're good. So Brenda, this is where you're going.
Yes. And thank you for that.
Time-wise, y'all are not too. Brenda's 6 years out from him leaving and 5 years out from her divorce, Lorie.
Yeah, my 5 year was July 31st, but he moved out prior to that. So he's been gone 6 years. We've been officially divorced 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and our timeline is very similar. I got news and divorce papers of it in November of 2014. And so our divorce was final in May of 2015. So it's been 5 years as of this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he told me June 2014, moved out October 2014, filed January 2015, and then it was final July 2015. So almost exactly.
Yeah. Our worlds were turning upside down in two separate places.
They were, Lorie. They were. It was the rug pulled out. We had met. Christy knows Kevin. We met our senior year of high school. So we had turned 18. And I'm 47 now. So at the time, I think I was 42, 43 when it happened. Yeah. And the boys were, gosh, when I think about it now, they were going into the 3rd grade and the 6th grade. And now they're freshmen and a senior.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But here we are, here we are. That there's no way around it but to go through it. And
and I would agree. And I'm sorry that you and your family had to go through it. I'm sorry that me and my family had to go through it. And I don't wish that on anybody.
No.
But again, there are some lessons that I have learned along the way. That I think has made me a better person, I hope. And I think they have made me a happier person, because the big thing that I learned the most, because I'm a perfection chaser, I have been a lifelong perfection chaser. And what it taught me was it didn't matter how hard and fast I ran and how good I kept all the balls in the air for everybody, that I couldn't control the way other people reacted. And when I was able to turn loose of that, not only in my family, but like in the broader world, it's been freeing. I mean, like big old bird wing freeing, kind of like,
yeah,
like, you don't have to like me. I can't control that, but I can be happy. I can strut whatever stuff I may have or not have.
Right.
If you don't like it, you missed out.
Yes. Oh my God. I agree with just about, I'm just like all of that. I'm sitting here just.
It's amazing, right? Like you just like
yes.
Lorie said I get to be her sister. I think by the end of this call, you will also be a sister. Yeah. But Lorie's already invited you to her house. I think.
Oh my gosh, I know. I can't even wait. But I just want to say to that, and then we can put that aside, because that's the ripple, effect. As soon as those words are out of his mouth, it just, I don't know at the time that he realized, it felt like to me that he thought it was between he and I, but it was my kids and my parents and his sister and brother, and it just went, our friends, and it was just overwhelming. And I just, I hid for a while because it just was too much. the balls fell on the ground. I fell on the ground. I couldn't, it was a lot. But like you said, I am here, and I am there too, where I feel like free, and I feel like so much more of myself. I think somebody made a comment the other day, or like, what's going on? She calls me. It's like, what's going on? Tell me all about this stuff. And I'm like, I really think this is me, who I'm supposed to be, but who I was, if that makes sense. You know, I met him when I was 18, and then I became that someone else, kind of. You know, his girlfriend, then his wife, then a mom, I hung up Brenda for a while. And this is who I've always been. I just have never let her out this much.
Are you saying you're letting your freak flag fly, Brenda? Because that's not where I thought this was going, but I mean, all right.
No.
Listen, the two of you who are watching and listening, if y'all could hook a sister up, that would be cool. I'm gonna, Lorie, I think you actually provided the best segue. Part of the reason, well, I wanted to have you on the podcast because, like, you're one of my favorite people in the whole world, and I don't spend any time with you, but I'm just like, I'm determined that we're going to be friends, whether you like it or not. But I so one of the things that I admire you greatly, but you've done something recently. You took the biggest bowl of lemons that any of us have ever seen in our lifetime. So you took this pandemic, you took COVID-19 and the lockdown and all of the things, and you didn't just go curl up in a ball in your room and hide. You have gone out safely, appropriately, all the things. Tell us about, I don't want to give it all away. I want to let you tell this story, but so I'm thinking, like, maybe tell us about how your people, how your community, how you've gone out. Like, I'm giving it all away. Lorie, tell us what's going on. You tell us about your last few months.
Well, the backstory of it is that I moved to Brenham, and I needed a year to lick my wounds because I was a perfection chaser. I had run hard. I needed to get my kids raised in college, and then I needed to breathe, and I needed to grieve. I took a year. I hunkered down. I looked at my toes. But when you move to a new town and you hunker down and you look at your toes and you work inside your house, you're not doing a very good job of building community and building friendships, because unless it's the exterminator coming in, you don't have a whole lot of social interaction. So when the pandemic happened, it was my personal wake-up call that the world wasn't going to be coming to me, so that I needed to figure out a way to go to the world and be with people. And I started on Alamo Street, which is the street where we live, because everybody has a story. And my first outreach was to my 90-year-old neighbor, whose name is Miss Nancy. And Miss Nancy is, she was born in 1930 when you do the math. And we said math wasn't important, but it is when you're trying to figure out how old people are. So she was born in 1930 at the beginning of the Depression into a family of sharecroppers, 10, in a Polish-American sharecropping family. And she's never been married. She worked in food service for almost 60 years. And she is one of those salt of the earth people who does not have many at all material possessions, but she has the gift of spirit and generosity that just has illuminated me. And I had so much fun getting to know her that I just have taken it on as a challenge to get to know everybody on our street. And so we've done things like have porch parties where everybody socially distances now. And when somebody's had too much alone time, there's a text that goes out that says, I'm sitting on my porch. And we all just spontaneously gathered like the old days just to tell stories and just to be. And people have started baking for each other. And we have like grab bags on Saturday because somebody will have had a chance to bake and you'll get a knock on the door and it's somebody coming and saying, we tried a new recipe for corn tortillas here, you know, fresh out of the comal. So it's been one person has connected to the next person, has connected to the next person. So that's one of them.
That is, oh, did you say her name was Miss Nancy?
Uh-huh.
Miss Nancy.
I wish we could.
I just love that so much. How encouraging. And that's what our world is missing because, you know, we're social media. We're really, that's not being social and that's not really connecting. I mean, it's just glancing and scrolling. You're out there. And I say that everyone has a story. And I just love that you have reached out and look at that. Ugh, I love it.
So Lori's done a little bit more than get to know Miss Nancy. Lori cooks for herself. Miss Nancy, she gets Miss Nancy's groceries and has since this started. Actually, I think Miss Nancy might be the reason that Lori has been kind of out in the world a little bit because you've been taking care of her and stepping in because she has elderly relatives that are, you know, taking care of themselves. So Lori cooks for her and stuff. But Brenda, I wish we could put it into context for you. And I don't know the politically correct way to say it, but people here, like, you know, if they're Polish or Czech, if there's a certain way that they say their sounds, their D's, their C, and I wish you could hear Miss Nancy's voice because I've not met Miss Nancy, but I'm going to give it away. But anyway, I can hear her voice in my head. So Lori Lori's a writer.
Yes.
Lori writes for many other people, and she's a very talented writer. But Lori, part of what the pandemic did was it made you sit down and write for you. And you were so kind to share it with the world on the Facebooks. And I think you were surprised at how it resonated and how people wanted more of your stories. But it's like, to me, it's a book. Like, it's, once you start, you're not going to want to stop. I'm just going to tell you that. So I asked Lori and I'm sorry if I've embarrassed you, Lori, but I hope you'll either read us or tell us one of your stories. Cause it's what the world is missing. It's Lorie Woodward.
Well, there are people who know me that say that the world is better if I keep this brain of mine contained. So, you know, there is some argument at that. But you were nice enough to ask me to share a story. So I pulled the very first one.
I was hoping you picked that one. Yay.
The very first one, because it's short. To give you some idea, Brenda, of that I don't necessarily follow the rules of the internet. Some of my essays have been multi-thousand words. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I'm like salivating. Where do I find this? I love to read. I am excited. I can't tell me more.
Well, anyway, people, I don't think generally read long things on the internet, and I don't have that many friends and followers because that's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there was one of them that was over 4,500 words. You know, I mean, that's like Encyclopedia Britannica, and it got passed around a lot.
That is so amazing.
So anyway, that was some feedback that was different for me because these are my people and this is my real voice when I write. So this is the first one, and it was in March of this year, the end of March of this year. Jack's beans were magic. My lentils were slap upside the head, perspective-changing legumes. Miss Nancy neighbors me on the west. She's an 89-year-old polyester-clad whippet of a woman whose accent and surname, which contains more consonants than vowels, belie roots that stretch back to Eastern Europe in the not-so-distant past. The first time we met, it was the crack of dawn. She was watering her flowers. When she's in the yard, she uses a cane and wears big, dark wraparound shades. I walked over to introduce myself. Good to know you, she said. These glasses aren't for pretty. I don't see so good. My eyesight is going blind, and the doctors, they treat the cancer in my blood. I'd later learned that despite her macular degeneration, our neighborhood watch is strong. She spots every strange car in my driveway. I suspect she may keep a list of license plates just in case some meanness happens. I quickly learned her faith in God and her church is strong. So where do you go to church? She asked. My tradition is Methodist, I replied. Well, God loves you anyway, she said. I laughed in my cackling guinea hen sort of way and assured her that my heathen Methodist soul would welcome her prayers. She agreed to lift me up and we struck up a friendship. Miss Nancy grew up on a dirt farm in Chapel Hill in a time when the Great Depression was a life event, not a history lesson. Thrift and hard work were the order of the day. For more than 60 years, she cooked in cafeteria kitchens, back when everything had to be made from scratch because there wasn't none of that heat-up stuff. She still washes her clothes by hand and hangs them on the line in her backyard. I'm not sure whether there was ever a Mr. Nancy, but she lives alone now. She has no children except Chance and Benji, two little feist dogs that somehow manage to jump and waddle. They eat more regularly and probably better than she does. Miss Nancy never had a car. Her people, friends and extended family check on her every day, but the regulars in her circle are septuagenarians at risk from coronavirus themselves. The threat of disease disrupted her supply lines on a personal level. In these days of social distancing, I take a covered dish of whatever I've cooked for myself and leave it on her porch. Then I call her, tell her it's there, and see if she needs anything. It's our makeshift solution that keeps food moving in while keeping germs out to the best of our ability. The first day of this very informal arrangement, I made a lentil sausage stew and dished up a portion that I thought would make 2 meals for her. When I made the next delivery, she informed me she still had beans. She'd eaten them twice and had enough for 2 more meals. I don't have to have so much, she said. I'm satisfied with enough. The only things we can't never get too much of is prayers and nice. The satisfying abundance of enough, more prayers, more nice, and a life lesson served up with a side of lentils.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
That is so good.
Oh,
It's so good. You know what, Lorie? You see people. You see people. We talk about that a lot here, too, about, people want to be seen. They want to be heard. And look at all of that. This is like chicken soup for my soul. This is lentils for my soul. I can't even deal.
And I really needed Lorie today.
I work at elementary school, and it is rough right now. It is hard to be in that place right now. And I came home and laid my head on the pillow for a little bit, and the boys came in there. We were talking about stuff, and, and then I get nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know, Lorie. And, what will I say? What will we say? I just went, God is good all the time. And so I got on your website, and not only do you see people, I loved this in your about you. I had it just a second ago. You say, I listen hard so I can discern the intent behind your words, identifying your needs along the way. I write clearly, concisely, and compellingly. I don't have my glasses on, and then edit ruthlessly to ensure that every word counts. And what you just read, that's exactly. So yeah, and what gravitated me towards that paragraph was I listen. That's another lesson, Lorie, that I'm on this path and journey about, is of listening. And Yeah. Look at all of that you just wrote about Miss Nancy. It's like you see, you hear. That's awesome. You're so awesome. And I also read at the beginning of this, it said that your family lore says that you started talking at 8 months.
Yes.
So
You included that in one of your essays. Because
Yes.
did you talk early but walk super late? Was there something? What was that?
Yeah, that was it. I was precocious and sedentary, is the way my mother described it.
I remembered it was something that was awesome.
that's amazing. So
Yeah.
tell me about the words. Tell me about writing. Have you always been a writer? Like, tell
For
me
my
about.
for my entire career, yes, I have been a word slinger in some capacity. I have worked for magazines. I have worked in public information. I ran a nonprofit organization. A friend of mine and I bought and expanded some magazines here, which is what brought me back to this area. And then I have a little boutique writing and PR agency. So I just have buttered my bread by slinging words for decades now. We won't tell you exactly how many.
Okay.
But Lorie, would you, I'm one of the things I'm curious about, and I don't know if I've asked you this or not, but take what you do, and like a tiny portion of that is I do something similar. And I find I struggle with writing. For me, I struggle not necessarily with writing in my voice, but just making the time to sit down and write words that are not for money, that are not because someone told me I had to, or I have to post at a certain time, or they need it by Wednesday or whatever. Do you, before the pandemic, before you started this essay series that has just captivated us, were you good about writing for you?
No. And it's funny because the last few weeks I've been busy professionally again, which is a wonderful thing. But I haven't written an essay now in 3.5 weeks, because by the time I get to the end of the day, after you have written for 4 or 5 or 6 hours for somebody else, the joy that a lot of people who do it as an avocation get from it, you're spent.
I totally get that. And it's something I think that's part of the reason that I was so excited that you found something that makes you want to sit down. Not that, I don't know about you, but I always have words in my head. Like there's a running conversation in my head all the time. And it's like things like, really, if someone could just put something that just would transcribe my thoughts, I mean, I think I would be like, I would never have, I could just write all the time, like all the stories, all the things that I observe and think about. But I love that you have made it. Like you're not just a good writer, you're a successful writer. And I say that with all due respect. Like I've seen what you've done. I mean, I've seen you take a rather dry subject and make it compelling. And that's only one. I mean, that's only one teeny tiny thing that you've done. So you have inspired me. I know that you're just a little bit ahead of me in life and career, but you have really inspired me and you make me want to do better and do more. So,
Well, but by the same token, the generation of moms that is one generation behind me have inspired me, because I think you came into your creativity and gave yourself permission sooner than people of my age bracket did, because I probably have a decade on you guys, give or take, right about 10 years probably. And I came up in the era of women can have it all, and we tried really hard, and you can have it all, but you can't have it all equally, all the time, without sacrificing yourself on the altar of, oh my gosh, I gotta get this done, on the altar of the to-do list. And
Yes.
so yeah, I think you guys plugged in at least a little sooner than we did to the power of perhaps saying no to some things and claiming some things that are yours for you and your family, maybe sooner than we did.
Mm-hmm.
Or I did. I can't speak for my generation. Sooner than I did. How about that?
I think you've described it well, because there are women my age who are still there, who are still trying to figure out, like, I don't even know that they know that they're missing a part of themselves. I know so many people my age who have much nicer homes than me and much nicer lives than I do, but I feel I'm sad for them, because I see them head down, trudging off to the same thing every day, and trudging home, and not really being happy at home, and not really being happy at work, and not being content with themselves or in their relationships, or they're disconnected from their kids, from their spouse. And I don't know that I've cracked the creativity. I don't know that I've cracked. I mean, I certainly haven't figured out how to make money and be at home where I'm called to be. So if I figure that out, I'll let y'all know. But yeah, so I think there are some people who know that it's okay to give yourself permission to be creative and to do things, or not even be creative, but just to do things for you. But I think a lot of people who are still head down, like in the trenches. And I got out, but I don't know. I think that probably really and truly I'm meant to be somewhere between where I am and where I was, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think back to what Lorie said about, being free and being you, or, after your divorce, and, letting that yourself, allowing yourself that space. And to me, of course, this is big dreams here, but, you're here, we're here. And the girls coming up to be where we are, like, wouldn't it be just great for us to just keep doing that sooner and sooner and sooner, saying, you know what, this is who I am. I am me. I am enough. This is, what makes me happy, and it's okay. And yeah, no is a complete sentence. You can say no. Like I want that for those girls. I know in the 20s, that's just rough stuff. You're figuring it all out. But when you get towards the end of those 20s and into those 30s, just be okay with dropping a ball here and there. I liked what you said about being a perfection seeker. I was totally me. Totally me. I wanted to be the best, everything. Just so, but that's just not realistic.
Maybe now you just be the kindest and the happiest. And
yeah.
I know, like, contentest is not the word, but the most content. That's my whole thing. The most peaceful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those things.
Just grateful. I definitely learned that that's one of the things I can thank the divorce for is being truly content, being truly grateful for the things in my life. Because when I was hiding and on the floor being sad, it was like, oh, he's moved on. Oh, he has a wife. Oh, he this, he that. And then I was like, wait a minute. I am still a mom. I am still have Matt and Alex here. I still have, the house. I still have, I am okay. I have these things that I'm doing okay. And I'm grateful. And I still have those friends, and I still have family. And so I had to really count those blessings. And then after that, I was like, okay, you know what? I am good. And thank you, God. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely had to have a, shift appear to think more positively. But I want to know, when you're in elementary school, middle school, what is Lorie writing about? What inspired writing? What was it, just always there?
I when I was in elementary and middle school, I didn't just write for fun. It just came easily to me, but it was not something that I sat down and did. Now, I read voraciously. I mean, I was that kid that was reading 2 books at once, and I would turn on my tape recorder and I would read the stories in all my little nerdy voices, and I lived in a word world. And I think it was all of the reading that taught me how to write. I had the benefit of going to a small school, in the sense that you got to try your hand at everything, unlike bigger schools where if you weren't the very best at it immediately, you didn't get a chance to do it. I mean, I'm 5'2" and I started on the basketball team. You know what I mean? It was like we needed bodies. But that's how I discovered writing, is because all through UIL, in all of the word events, from storytelling in 2nd grade all the way through prose interpretation and journalism and all of those things, teachers would pitch me the rule book and we'd go have a competition, and I would do well. I would do better than I should have in most cases for the amount of time that I had practiced it, because there were cases where they pitched me the rule book on the bus and
Wow.
they entered without me knowing. In high school, I ended up going to journalism that way. I mean, the state journalism contest, and placing at state, and had literally studied the rule book on the way to the district competition. So words were just something I did, and I backed into writing as a career because I got to the end of my sophomore year in college and they made you declare a major, and I still didn't know what I wanted to be. And I looked around and I had discovered 2 things. One, when I was in high school and getting ready to graduate, I grew up on a ranch, okay? I was packing my suitcases and all of that, and I looked at my daddy and told him that I never wanted to see the butt end of a cow again. That I was going to be an attorney or I was going to be something else, but I would not be looking at the butt end of a cow. Probably wasn't the smartest thing I could have said to my rancher daddy, but I got to A&M, which is not exactly the most cosmopolitan destination on the planet, right? But it took me 1 semester to recognize that I missed those people. I missed the people of the land, and I missed that lifestyle and that sense of people who knew who they were. And so, as fate would have it, at my non-cosmopolitan school, they had a degree that was agricultural journalism.
What?
I've never heard that.
Well, I got a liberal arts degree, so I took honors Shakespeare and history and all those fun things that I wanted to take, but then I got a technical specialization in agriculture. So it was like the best of my worlds combined. And so I graduated with a specialty, and agriculture has a lot of science. So that also prepared me to write about medicine and conservation and a whole lot of other things. So it was just happy happenstance.
Love that story. That's so cool. Look at that. I never knew that was but man, and back to those, back where you're from, those people that make you who you are. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town of Lexington, which is exactly halfway in between Austin and College Station. It's 60 miles from both.
Okay.
My in-laws moved out there a few years ago, Lorie, on County Road F.
Really?
So it's,
okay.
Megan from Lico Honey, the Orsags?
Yes.
So there's a couple people on Instagram that we've become friends with online who are from Lexington. And I'm like, nobody's from Lexington, and you're from Lexington.
What an awesome
place to grow up.
Lexington, how did you?
That's never happened. I assumed, I think because of your accent, I think I made a snap judgment when I met you because I hear West Texas in you. I don't know why.
Well, I spent 20 years in West Texas, in San Angelo. So
that's where my father-in-law was born.
Really?
Richard Parks. Okay. Richard Parks, and he was raised by his brother Ira and his wife Patricia Parks. He went to Central.
Well, my daughter graduated from Central, so yeah. It's a small world, ladies.
It is getting smaller and smaller. Seriously, I know we drove. I guess from where I live to San Angelo, it's a long drive, and but yeah, I've been there a few times. San Angelo, wow. Dang.
See, all this common ground. You're just gonna have to come move in.
I am. You know, I've joked to Christy, you know, once the boys are in college and moved out, and I sell this house, I was like, I'm gonna move to Brenham.
I hope you do. We're not joking.
No, I'm not either. I'm ready. I can't wait. I'm hoping to come in a week or so. So yeah, I do. I love it. I can't wait. There's so much more to talk about.
Lori's available if she's not like moving to nursing school or something. We could.
And so I know you have a daughter. You said you have 2 children. Do you have 2?
Yes, I have a daughter and a son. Kate's 23. She's the one headed to nursing school, and then Will is a rising senior at A&M.
Okay, awesome. Aw, I love that. And then they're close by, or I guess your son's close by. Did you say she was in Austin? Where did you say?
Yeah. Well, he is in College Station, and then Kate will be in Galveston. She's home with me right now.
Okay.
She spent this past year in the Metroplex, and then has been home for a month and a half.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. We just at the beginning. Okay. I'm coming back full circle.
That's okay.
It's
right, your roommate. Yeah, it's got off the waiting list. Hey, I remember now.
That's all right. You're not scurrying around trying to get things back into boxes that we just got unboxed. So see, you're good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, so Miss Nancy, when you write stories about her, and so have you written your other essays? Are they about your porch parties and people, or have you just like have thoughts and things that are going on during the pandemic that you're writing about?
It is a wide variety. Some of them are Miss Nancy centric. Some of them have just been things from my past that I learned a lesson from that seemed to apply to the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Some of them have just been observations of the way that people behave and what I've taken away from that. You know, and I tend to write with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek.
Oh my God.
So some of them tend to run to the absurd and humorous, and I hope people understand the satire that's implied by it all. But
yes,
so it's whatever hits my head.
Yeah. Well, laughter is the best medicine. It really just helps. I think, you know, and if we take this thing too seriously, you know, it's like, can't, not anymore. Like, yeah, anyway, I can't wait to read the essays. I seriously can't. That's awesome. I feel like you're, you know, I don't know, I talked with Casey's daughter, Casey, about Taylor Swift. You know, I'm over here eating cheese balls and she's over there writing a new album of 16 songs. And here you are creating these like amazing essays during the pandemic. I love it. I need to up my game a little bit.
Well, let me just say, if you came and looked at the hard copies, you'd see Cheeto dust on them. So you're sitting there going, "Woo, I'm the queen of the cheese ball." You can write me cheese balls too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I guess we started a podcast during
I
the
was like,
pandemic.
Exactly.
Lori, about a month in, Brenda, I guess it's been a little bit since we had like a call and like a kind of a live talk, and Brenda called about a month into it. Brenda was like, "Hey, we need to talk," and talking about some, where she's, I would say about this time every year you have that, like the person that has a side business and is in education is like, well, which way do I go? And so we were talking about that, and at the end she asked me about our last podcast, what happened, and I told her, we all went our separate ways. We're still friends, but and she said, "Hey, you should do a podcast." And I said, "Let's do it." And so like that was a Tuesday or Wednesday, and by Friday, like we had the domain, we had all the social media channels. It was like, all right, we're doing this. And so our what we've told each other is when it starts being a have to and it's no longer a get to, then we'll stop or we'll slow down. But there's just so many people to talk to. There's so, like I could do this all day, every day. I don't think my people would like that very much at all.
Or mine, but it's so true. And there are so many people to talk to, and like this, there's the connections, the dots connecting, and it's awesome. And the world is so small. And I love listening to people's story and their whys and their hows and where they're from. It's always fascinating me. I tell Christy, I can't remember, like a week or so ago, like I'm the girl that goes to a garage sale and like looks around and says, "Oh, they played golf. Oh, I wonder, oh, they traveled to Guatemala one year." Like I'm looking at their things, just reading like, "Oh, I wonder why he's getting rid of this. Did she make him get rid of that?" Like I just love people and who they are and why they are. It just is always interested me, and I do, and thanks for sharing all of your stuff, because who knew I needed a Lorie in my life?
Well, Christy and God.
Yes, Christy and God. Christy and God. But like, this is the stuff, like God knows exactly who you need, when you need them. And that was like the premise of the podcast was the people in your life then and now are there on purpose. I just feel that. And I came to that conclusion during my divorce when people were coming out of the woodwork to help me. Like, the girl in high school who I knew but barely knew, who here, I know the name of somebody that can help you here. Or, "Oh, did you know my brother's a divorce lawyer here?" Just whoa. And so I wanted to sit with those people and say, "You know what? This is what I remember about when we met. This is how we got to here. And thank you so much for what you've done for me." So, and now I'm thanking you for sitting with me, a stranger, and sharing your story, because, oh my gosh, I'm still blown away of the words that you've said. I mean, St. Angelo, blindsided by divorce, like those are literal words out of my mouth. And that I am not alone. I am not alone. And thank you. And when people share their stories and when they say the things, like, just, you're not, because look, there's someone else in Brenham, Texas who has gone through some of the things I have. And I just feel better. Not that you went through that, but
no, I don't.
That someone knows and has felt that. What is that? Help me with words. I'm not a word person. Help me, Lorie.
Well, to me, that's one of the lessons of the pandemic. And it's what you talked about, was really seeing people and talking to people because I think as humans, that's our biggest fear, is feeling like we are alone. And we think we're alone with whatever we've walked through. You know, it's our big elephant in the room. And my goodness, nobody else has ever had an elephant that big.
Yeah.
But when you start talking to people, they've had elephants that big, or 2 elephants that big. Or they've just got a heart as big as an elephant and they're willing to hold your truth on that day.
Yeah.
You know, but the only way we know that for me is to get over myself and to look somebody in the eye and make that overture. You know, I mean, to look at them and say, hi, my name's Lorie.
Hey, Lorie.
You know,
yeah.
And that's the icebreaker, because they're not going to, generally, people are reluctant to come up and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. But that's what I've learned in the pandemic is people are particularly hungry for that. And if you're willing to be vulnerable enough to say the first hi, which isn't a hard word, you know, that's all it takes to get people going. That and, you know, interest in the eyes behind your mask.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Okay, I will forget because we're going to keep talking and I'll forget. But Lorie, if I do have a song for you, it's not my song. That's it. But this one has particular meaning because it's one of James's favorite artists and it's one of my favorite albums of all time. It came out at a really pivotal time in my life. But when we were sitting at your table and you told me, so Lorie's website, you said it, and I was so happy that you said it. Lorie's professional title is Lorie A. Woodward, wordslinger. And when you told me wordslinger, I was like, dadgum, that is the best job description ever. And I don't think it would fit anyone else but Lorie. It just suits you to perfection. And when we were sitting at your dining room table, we were talking about that, I walked away and this song was in my head, and it's I don't know how you feel about Tom Petty, but I love
Tom Petty.
Wide Open and 2 Gunslingers. And the whole point of the song was, it's a catchy song, it's a good song, but the whole point of the song is these gunslingers, they meet in the road and they're gonna go at it, and they're like, what are we fighting for? I don't want to fight anymore. And they walk away, and then there's a guy in the crowd, and then and it goes to the chorus, and there's a guy in the crowd, and he looks at his wife and he's like, you're not bringing, this is the last gunfight you're dragging me to. And I just, Lorie, it just, the wordslinger, the gunslinger, the timing of the Tom Petty felt right for you, but also just, I think that's you. I think that you are so good at speaking the truth in a way that we can hear it. I only know how you interact with women. I don't know how you interact with men, but for me, you say it like it is, and there's no drama, and there's no, like, I don't sense in you any, like, you're not doing something because someone told you you ought to, or because the world told you you should. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do, or it's right for you. And I have such respect for that. So you're not just a word slinger to me. You're one of the gunslingers, and you're like, what are we fighting for? And that, like, that's you. Like, that's what you did with this pandemic. Instead of sitting at home and writing ugly essays about your opinions about everything, you're writing beautiful essays that paint portraits of your neighbors and your community and your people, and you're bringing together instead of dividing. And I love that.
I love it too. And I knew, yes. Good.
Y'all are gonna make me cry.
So is this the point where you say that Tom Petty was like your ex's favorite, and you're like, oh, Tom Petty?
No. Actually, I've been listening to Wildflowers now on repeat for days. So, that's the Tom Petty album in my car at the moment.
Well, James, make sure you drop that in a conversation with James when y'all meet next week, because he's the Tom Petty. Like, Tom Petty's death. So James lost Tom Petty and Neil Peart from Rush, fairly close to get, like, too close for comfort. And so he's still a little sensitive and raw. But we saw Tom Petty the last time he was in Houston. So We didn't get closure, but
Oh.
That's James Brenham.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I feel like, Lorie, this is when we started this podcast, our goal, we were going to talk for like 15 or 30 minutes. I think we've talked for just over an hour with you.
Yes.
We're going to call it good. Like, I think,
Okay.
15 minutes, an hour, 15 minutes, whatever. Because we could just keep doing this, Lorie. You could just be our third.
Right? Then we're gonna save some for the sleepover where I stay up all night, and I'm like, tell me more. Yeah.
Well, sleepover it is. You just need to know, though, that I'll have to go take a nap because my biorhythms wake me up at 3:00 in the morning, and so then by 8:30 or 9:00 at night I'm asleep. But by 3 I'm ready to go again. So you and Christy can sit up between 9 and 3, and then I'll catch you on the backside of it all.
Okay.
So, Lorie, so the funny thing here is my parents, when I was growing up, I was always horribly embarrassed because they got up at like 5:00 in the morning. They both went to work by 6. I guess they got up before 5 to cook breakfast and stuff, but they were always in bed like 8 or 9. Like if my parents were up at 9:00, like someone was in trouble. They were in bed like 8:00. That door was shut, and so when we had friends over, we had to be quiet, and you couldn't call my house. And Brenda laughs because she and her boy are usually eating dinner when our family is wrapping it up, and we're like our kids know, like there's a certain point in the night where I'm in my bed. You can come and sit with me, but I'm in bed. That time is closer to 8 than not.
Yeah, we are. We're night owls, but I always joke. I'm like, ooh, I need a nap tomorrow. I'm planning those naps out. Oh my goodness. Well, this has been so much fun. And this is one of those episodes, like I'm going to have to go back when this airs and with my notepad and pen and be like, okay, all these like, at the very you said like jazz something and like, okay, word slinger, like all these like fun phrases, like I'm going to have like a whole Lorie page of Lorie-isms. Love it.
We're just going to get together. When you come to Brenham, no kidding. Y'all make it a point. Let's get together. No kidding.
No, I'm serious. So I don't know what y'all are doing like the weekend of the 14, 15, 16. I don't know.
I don't even know what day it is today. What day
Today's the
6th.
6th.
I do know.
So like not this weekend coming. I think it's the following. I'm available that weekend. How soon is now?
I am quite certain that can work for me, but yeah, y'all work it out because I would enjoy it. I've enjoyed spending time with both of you tonight.
Oh, well, it is my absolute pleasure to meet you, Lorie, and I can't wait. So if we can make that happen, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And
my calendar, that's the beauty of the pandemic, and I'm sorry for everyone who's hurting, but I have blank calendar. Like we, with James is not doing weddings. He's not doing very many shoots. The kids don't have sports or camps or anything. So we have our weekends. Like we get to the weekend, like, wait, we don't have anything going on. Our big plans this weekend are we're doing the yard and trimming it and blowing everything off, not just doing part of it. We're doing the whole thing.
The whole kit and caboodle.
I know you're excited for us, but that's it.
I'm so excited for you.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Have a great night, or have, Brenda, your lunch or whatever it's time for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you, Lorie. Thank you guys for listening.
Sure.
This is seriously chicken soup for your soul. You need this right now in this pandemic. We needed you, Lorie. Oh my gosh. Thank you for everything. I will see you soon.
So if Lorie makes us a mixtape now, it'll be You Needed Me. Is that Anne Murray? Who is that, y'all?
I think it is. You Needed Me.
I think it was him. I haven't thought of that song in a very long time.
I haven't either. I had that album.
Okay, sing it to y'all. All right. Much love, you guys. I'll talk soon.
Okay, bye. Hey, y'all. Are you still watching? Are you still listening? Oh, hey, Mom.
We're so glad that you're still with us. If you want to connect online, we're at www.normalbiaspodcast.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And our very favorite, if we made you a mixtape, we'd put all those songs on our Spotify playlist for you.
All the things.